So shade and lock the door. Your body I will tour beneath the sheet.
All of us are affected by war. The souls of soldiers returning from war have been transformed. War challenges every principle of morality they were taught. And civilians are challenged by the same moral issues, but shy away from them. As a result, a rift, a gap has opened between these two groups. The Veteran-Civilian Dialogues brings veterans and civilians together to engage in deep conversation with the goal of understanding and supporting one another by sharing their stories.
Welcome to the first virtual Veteran-Civilian Dialogue. I am a Vietnam combat vet, poet, playwright, and psychotherapist who feels a deep and pressing need to help veterans reintegrate back into society and civilians accept and honor veterans so we all can heal from the effects of war.
As we begin to make our way to the main dialogue area, we invite you to be aware of what it is that you're feeling and what are some of your hopes, concerns, and questions. And if you were to set an intention for our time together, what would that intention be?
We're about to enter a sacred space where the conversations will be focused on one of the most difficult and disturbing of human creations, war. Without a degree of sanctity, it is easy for hopelessness to dominate. So I ask you to place yourself in the present moment. Bring your awareness to and focus on what you believe is the greater good and open your hearts.
We'd like to begin to explore the impact that both war and peace have had on all of us. To do this, we will pose two questions, one about war and one about peace, and ask you to place yourself on a continuum in relationship to that question. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 indicating the most impact, please choose a number that represents how much war has affected you.
I spent 3 years in Iraq and 2 years in Afghanistan with the Special Forces. I saw many things, and most of them I don't care to see again.
Not a vet myself, but the topic of war has suffused my whole life.
Now we'd like to explore the impact that peace has had on all of us. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 indicating the most impact, please choose the number that represents how much peace has affected you.
Sometimes peace eludes me, and I'm relieved when it returns. I vow to remember it, but then I can't.
Peace is in my daughter's face.
Conversations between veterans and civilians form the cornerstone of this project. Something incredibly important, something we all need to heal from the effects of war, happens when veterans and civilians enter into dialogue. We'd like to invite you to experience a dialogue now. To do this, we will ask you to break into small groups composed of both veterans and civilians. We encourage you to follow the conversations wherever they lead you. Larry, you've lived as a soldier and a veteran for 40 years now, and I'm curious, how has that identity sat inside of you all these years?
The straight answer is that in the beginning I felt ashamed to be a veteran. I was ashamed of what I had done and how society saw me. I lost my faith in God and in the war.
It's funny that you'd ask about PTSD because both my parents were in the Navy and my dad served in the Korean War. He had a really hard time when he came back. He drank too much, couldn't hold down a job, and loud noises just terrified him. Looking back, I think he had PTSD.
Where was war sitting at the dinner table when you were growing up?
I experienced my father as a silent, brooding man. I always felt he was angry under the surface. I unconsciously followed his footsteps, and I joined the Army. I was an officer and began to really struggle with my own conscience while I was in the military.
I had a little bit of trepidation. I was a little bit nervous because I haven't had a lot of direct exposure with military personnel, and I wasn't sure what to expect, right? So I came at it just sort of with an open heart, hoping that I could be of some help and with a little bit of nervousness.
I really didn't have any expectations when I came in. My background in psychotherapy deals a great deal with group dynamics, so I was open-minded and just open to the experience itself.
I think that unique experience makes it time sort of accelerate. So we get to know people faster. We get emotionally deeper and more invested faster.
Congrats on what can only be described as a miracle day.
This was one of the most powerful and moving events I've ever experienced in Second Life.
The production and the process and the interactions were magnificent on so many levels. Amazing work, all of you. Just amazing.